Welcome to the webcast today. We're talking about building your own custom packages. If you have questions, tweet and use hashtag PDQ Deploy, and we'll have these guys answer them live for you. Turn it over to Shane and Lex.
All right. Hey, everybody, I'm Shane.
And I'm Lex.
Let's do this.
So, building our own packages today.
Well, there's a couple of ways to do this, and a few things to keep in mind when you're building your packages. Obviously, we've covered quite in depth the package library. These are packages that we pre-build for you. But there are plenty of times when you're going to have to build your own, something that's not available in the package library. So, Lex, I think you mentioned that you had, there's a new ZenTools.
I've just built a bunch of VMs that I need to deploy ZenTools to,
okay,
and just make it easy for me. So let's build a ZenTools package. So,
all right. So I like to put my own packages in something like custom packages folder.
Sounds good.
But you can obviously do whatever you want. So there's the new package button.
So basically, again, we just got to name this package. We'll just call it ZenTools.
All right.
So after we name that, again, you can change any of your custom settings right here for this package. But let's just jump into the install step.
Okay.
So with the install step, obviously we need to go and pick the install file. So
I think you actually said you had it set here.
I did.
There we go. Yeah, you were not lying.
One of the few times I've done that.
Yeah, and we're not seeing anything on this top screen, by the way, guys. All right. So ZenTool, there's our path, and let's actually just click the ellipsis here.
And we'll grab
which
the
one
install wizard.
Install
MSI.
wizard. Okay.
Now with the MSI, when we pick the MSI, PDQ Deploy is smart enough to know that we're going to use the MSI install silent parameters. Now those again are set down at the MSI options.
Now this is only available when you select an MSI or an MSP type file. So,
Yeah.
all right.
And those are correct. That's what we need. Now the other thing that we need with this is we need to include all the files that were in that directory.
All right. When you say this is correct, really quick, what do you mean by that?
Correct. Well, operationally, we're going to do an install. We're going to do it silent. We don't want it to reboot.
Okay.
So that's correct.
Perfect. So keep for the most part, you want to keep these the same settings. Now you said include entire directory. Why is that necessary? Is it always necessary?
Well, it depends on the package you're building. Okay. Obviously, with ZenTools, the install wizard calls all those files right there when it's doing the install.
All right. So I see what you're saying now. Sometimes there's an MSI that has everything you need within that, or an EXE. It's got all the files that are used for the installation all compiled into the actual installer. But in this case, this is going to call other MSIs.
Now, we can include the entire directory, or if it was onesie twosies, we could go out and just add additional files.
Yes, that's the Add Files button if you don't want to add everything in that directory.
Yep.
All right, perfect.
Now, with that, it'll include, did we mention it'll include that directory where the install file is and subdirectories?
Okay, well, now we didn't include it. You now know.
Now you know.
So this is an MSI. We've included all the files. With MSIs, for the most part, it's a slam dunk. I mean, they're standard, so we know how to make them run silently, as you can see from the MSI options. But there are things known in the MSI world as properties. These are customizations you can make to the installation. These vary by vendor and by product.
That's true.
So are there any new parameters to set properties for the?
With this one,
MSI?
there's not.
Okay.
And I went to Google to find that out, and
right.
I Googled that. So the other thing to mention is success codes. When a installation finishes, you're going to get success codes.
Actually, I think the proper word is everything's going to return an exit code.
Exit code.
Exit codes are also known as return codes and error codes. They're all used the same.
Semantics.
So of all those exit codes, which ones are considered a success?
Those are the ones we got right there.
Yeah, 0. It will vary. Once again, this varies. This can vary by your by whatever
the
application.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
So thanks for calling that out. This is This is just an example of a very simple one.
Yeah, and I always like for ZenTools to actually finish the install. It needs a reboot, so let's add a reboot step.
Oh, okay.
So
there's by the way, our demonstration monitor, just so that everybody can fit this on their browsers, is running at a low resolution. For most part, you'll have larger buttons.
Yeah.
JJ, we're not seeing anything on this screen up here. All right, let's see. We've got, so the reboot. Yep, thank you. So you've got this reboot. You want to give them a warning? What do you want to do?
I like full contact IT. Give them 3 seconds, and just tell them good luck, save your stuff.
You're such a tool, dude.
I like to remind people who's got the power. You know what I'm saying?
All right. Do you want this?
No.
Conditions. Now, the conditions are set per step. We've got 2 steps. We have an install step.
Mm-hmm.
We have a reboot step. Do you want to have any conditions set on this?
Not in this package because it gets installed on
Servers,
servers,
everything?
and,
Okay.
workstations.
And you want the reboot to happen on the servers as well?
I do.
You are full contact, man. All right, we're going to go ahead and say save. You want to deploy this to something?
Yeah, let's launch that. I've got a machine out there called Thor.
Thor.
Needs some Zen Tools action on there. So.
All right. We're just going to go ahead and deploy this with the defaults to Thor. So that's a simple.
Very simple.
Mm-hmm. We had 2 steps in there. We had an install step and a reboot step. I'm going to come down, because we can't just build a lot of packages in the time frame that we have with everybody here. We're going to show you a couple of packages that are a little bit more difficult, perhaps. All right.
Yeah.
First of all, I guess before we start, let's look at a key pass.
Yeah.
All right. Now yes, this is available in the package library, but what's the one thing you really have to consider when you're doing a silent deployment? Is what?
Well, you've got to have silent parameters. I mean, it's
correct.
got to be able to install without user interaction.
Perfect. So
The real question is, where do we get those?
yeah,
right?
because they vary per product, by vendor, yada, yada, yada. So here's an example of key pass password safe. These are some parameters to make this run silently. The -SP, the very silent, sometimes it'll be /silent. We like to use very silent in this case, but once again, it varies.
Yeah.
How do you find these out? Where do you find these, Lex?
You go to the great Google.
That's right. If you don't know,
That's where you go. That's what we do here.
for example, we just got a site license for TechSmith's Snagit, and I needed to build a package for that just last week. I thought, well, how do we find this? Sure enough, I just Googled it, found the MSI file. They said, hey, don't use the EXE. You can't distribute it silently, but you can use the MSI provided by TechSmith. And I found a wizard that actually also configured Snagit for the environment, and then I deployed it. You always have to find that. Google, the great Google.
The great Google. Let's go pull up our great Google.
So in this case, if we wanted to do KeyPass, maybe just something like a KeyPass silent install. I mean, there you go. You can start, and then you can start seeing the different options here. So the great Google folks, silent, you can see they got the very silent as well. I hate to say it, but that's really what you're going to need to do.
Yeah. A little research.
Guess you could go to the not so great Bing.
Ooh, that was on the spot.
You'd
but
probably
harsh.
find it. You'd
On
probably
the
find
spot,
something
but
there.
Harsh.
Probably find something,
So-
some images.
A couple other things we probably should point out. A lot of times with packages, we find here that it's good to try and stop something that might be running on a machine before it does an install.
And that varies per product too.
Again, it does.
So in this case, KeyPass, you don't want KeyPass running when you're trying to upgrade it. So we actually do a task kill. It's a built-in system utility. This is a command step, by the way. There's the command step button. What's a command step? I'm going to click this. Obviously, now I can specify what. What am I talking about here, Lex?
Basically, anything you type at a command line and hit enter.
Correct.
So
this is going to run on the target machine. So whatever you have here, whatever command you run, has to exist on the target machine. If it doesn't exist, then you need to add that file there so that you can run it. And notice we do have a custom
success code.
success code there. We have 0, which is the normal one, and 128. Keep in mind, sometimes you have to keep on top of that. 128 is a success for us. In task kill world, that means you tried to kill a process that wasn't running.
Didn't exist.
So it gives you an error code 128. To us, that's a success because we don't want it running anyway.
Now, the other thing is, depending on your success codes, you can have different options of what to do after that.
That's correct.
So in this case, on error mode,
we're going to continue. This means that the error mode means what does this step do? What does the package do with this step if an error code is returned that is not considered a success?
It's not on the success line. That's an error in this
Once
case.
again, it's not in success code. So what do we do? Well, we're saying if you receive this, just continue to the next step, even if this gives you a fatal error.
Try the next one.
Yeah, we're just going to go to the next one because you'll do this on steps that maybe aren't as consequential.
Yeah.
But on the install step for KeyPass, if that one fails, there's no reason to continue on with the rest of the package. We're saying on the error mode drop down, instead of continue, stop deployment with error.
Yep.
And then there's also stop deployment with success. That's a rarer use case. But so if KeyPass is installed successfully, so step 2 enters a success code, then we go on to some other command steps. I'm going to go to the details. And you can see you can enter more than one command in a command step. It actually is processed as a batch file by PDQ Deploy. But here we just copy we copy an XML file out to the target directory, target application directory, to turn off auto updates. So anyway, these are some awesome examples of packages and all the steps that you have. Let's go over.
Before you jump there, let's just pop up conditions on that, because notice that's a 32-bit.
Thank you for calling that out.
So under conditions, you can pick your architecture, and this will only run, that step will only run on a 32-bit machine. If it's not 30, if the machine's 64-bit, it'll skip that step and move to the next one.
And the next step, it will run on a 64-bit. We also have OS versions, meaning if you don't want this to run on certain OSs, you exclude them here. And if you don't want this to, the logged on state is also what to do with this step if someone is logged on. If someone's logged on, you can always run. You can only run this step if no user is logged on. And then, of course, the opposite, only run if a user is logged on. Yeah. So those are your conditions. I'm going to close that window. We'll say no. And I am going to actually just quickly go back to, I don't even know if we had covered this one, FileZilla, because FileZilla is not supported by the vendor any longer on Windows XP.
Oh, yeah.
So when we install FileZilla, our conditions are the OSs. We say don't install. You can see the XP is unchecked there. Don't install on XP. So that means that step would never run on XP. Just calling that out. So those are your conditions when you build your packages. And by the way, once again, if you have any questions, you can tweet and hashtag PDQ Deploy.
Now, another thing we can do with packages, and we probably could just add this in somewhere, is a nested step.
Awesome. So what's a good example of a nested step?
Well, I like, usually when I build new machines, I want to install a bunch of software. So I want Firefox on there. I want Flash, the Flash plugin. So what I'll do is I'll add a couple of nested steps.
All right. I'm going to, instead of creating, sorry, JJ there, I've been scrolling. We're going to show you a better way, I think. If you already have a couple of packages, let's say that you want Java 8. These are, so you're talking about kind of a baseline. Maybe you have new machines and you want all new machines to have these applications.
Java 8. Yeah.
Java 8, Adobe Flash, that's the plugin, that's not the ActiveX. And you move on down, maybe Adobe Reader 11 with the latest patch. So I've selected these 4 packages. Notice there's a link right here, create a new package nesting these. I'm going to click that. All right.
Okay.
So now we have created a new package. You can see that these are calling this little button right here. We have 4 nested packages. A nested package simply means you're calling a different package in your on your console from within this package.
Hey Shane, what if I wanted to install 7-zip before Java?
Oh, well then you have to create the whole thing over again, dude.
Oh man, that would suck.
So let's go
move on down.
Yeah, you move it up. There's your arrow. There's your sequence on that.
And again, I just want to pop something out there. If you guys have questions, another place you can post those questions are on the YouTube channel.
Okay.
So, the YouTube chat, I think.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So what happens here? Once again, Now we've nested these, but we can also create other steps here. We can create an install step to run an MSI or an EXE or something
You
like
put
that.
a sleep step in there. Let's say we want to wait for Java to do its thing, or
Sure. A sleep step, if you wanted to wait, for some reason, if you wanted to wait, there's our sleep. You can, basically a sleep just kind of pauses the package. It pauses the package for however many seconds you specified. So there you go.
And again, you can run conditions on that.
Let's do this. No, that's an example of a nested. All right. Lex, you had built, pardon me, guys. Lex, you had built Type VNC a while ago,
Yeah,
and I love this. And I want to go through, and this is a great example of a multi-step package, multi-step installation. And looking at this, it might seem a little daunting at first.
Oh, it is a little daunting.
But
there's a lot we can do with PDQ Deploy to make these things happen really smooth.
correct.
So
First of all, did Lex do this all at once without even blinking? No.
Not at all.
Obviously, there's some trial and error when you build your own packages. You probably realized fairly early on that if you're installing Type VNC,
and the server's running on there.
and it already exists on the target, so you're upgrading it. Stop that VNC service. So there he is. He's doing a net stop, and notice the success codes. We're saying 0 and 2. And let me check your options. I'm going to assume you said continue.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Then you uninstall existing Type VNC if it's there. And now we have our 32-bit and 64-bit. If you recall from just moments ago, we have the conditions. This is important since Type VNC has a 32-bit installer and a 64-bit.
Now, while we're looking at this is an MSI, and so we've got the MSI options there. But you'll notice at the parameter line, there are a bunch of properties that go with this.
Okay.
So again, Google these. okay?
Yes.
And you're going to set the password, register at the server.
This is a good call. Really quick, a slight diversion. People will say, "Hey, I see your Type VNC installation, but I want my own password. How do I set that?" Number one, we actually put some of this information in the description. Notice that we selected this top node. Most people never click on that. We explain right there. Lex put in there that the password is
Help desk.
It's help desk. You can see it right there. So if I wanted to change that
Go down
in my
to-
environment,
Head to our parameters line and look for password.
go to the end. There it is. I just changed that help desk. All right. But am I going to have to do it 2 places or 1?
Oh, you got to do it everywhere you're going to do that install. So you need to do it on the 64-bit also.
Perfect. And you can see they are there. And once again, I would wager quite a bit that all you had to do was Google something like Type VNC install silent,
Yep.
and you would find a comprehensive list of all of the available parameters that you can pass to the MSI.
Yep.
Oh, you do have a sleep step in here. Looks like you're just waiting for 5 seconds, and then you're going to stop the service because it's going to start that service.
Yep.
And then you're going to install the driver. Yeah, I see what you're doing. This is awesome.
Now, the reason I wanted that sleep, I wanted to make sure that after the install, it actually has fired up, because trying to stop it,
And then you've got awesome. Sometimes there's not a parameter. There's oftentimes a parameter to not install
Desktop
a
icons.
desktop icon. Sometimes there's not. So guess what? If you don't want the desktop icon, sometimes you have to go in after the fact and clean them up. So Lex is doing this. He's deleting the start menu shortcuts.
Yeah.
And then you're also doing it for XP because it's a different path for XP. And obviously you're going to set those via conditions.
Of course.
You can finish my
Sentences?
if you want.
Nah. Do that too much, man.
All right. And then at the very end, looks like you're starting
The service again,
The
yeah.
service again. Then in the service, we're talking about the Type VNC. Perfect. Yeah. This is a great example of a fairly comprehensive package that you can do. Now, really quick exam. What if I wanted to add, after I do all of this, what if I want to install Flash?
You cry in your soup, huh? Now you hit nested package.
You can create a net. If you want to do it within this package, you can simply go to
nested packaging.
Nested packages, There's Flash right there. Say OK.
Reading's tough, huh?
Uh-huh. And now we'll after all of this, we would install Flash.
Flash, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we've got a question.
Oh, okay. What question do we have?
What do we got? It's by Robert Vita. How difficult is it to build a package to update a device driver like a Dell or HP?
Okay, that's a good question. And the answer is, Robert, it varies.
That depends. Yeah.
There's some Dell driver packages or installations that I've seen that are actually fairly simple to use, and you simply just select the install file, give it the silent parameter, and it takes care of everything. But there are other installations to apply drivers where you actually have to go in and run some custom commands to actually add the driver. In those cases, I wish I had should have had the package up here for Ultra VNC, because there's an Ultra VNC package I built a long time ago that adds drivers. But you have to use, I had to go out there and grab DevCon. That's a device console. It's the command line version of adding of the hardware of the device manager. Yeah. Sorry, it's the command line version from Microsoft. I had to go out there and grab DevCon. Again,
you had to Google that.
I had to Google it.
Talk to the vendor if you have to. But yeah, Google is probably your best friend for all these.
For Dell and HP, you're probably going to, depending on what the device driver is, it's probably going to be fairly simple. It could be literally one install step, Robert. But for lesser known drivers, sometimes you've got to go in there and kind of do it manually via the command line, via a bunch of command steps.
Yeah. So. I think we beat that one to death, yeah.
Yeah, sorry to not be able to. And once again, when it comes to custom packages, it's the answer is almost always, it varies.
Yep.
Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's a little bit more comprehensive. All right, so we have, I think we went through the tight VNC. If you guys have any more questions, by all means, throw them down. We've gone through some of the tight VNC, some of the more comprehensive ones. Let's see. Guess what? What happens if you have a package or an application that has a license key?
Yeah.
Okay, this is something you've purchased. We have a couple of videos, like for instance on the
Office customization tool.
Yeah, Office customization tool. Usually, and this is something you have to Google, usually if it's like an MSI or something, there is a property, something like, the value would be the name would be something like key or new key or something, that you have to specify the site license or the installation key. That varies by vendor. I had mentioned, let's do this real quick.
Snagit?
Yeah, I had mentioned Snagit. So let's go out to, there's Snagit. All right, we have Snagit 12.2.2 is the latest one. The Snagit EXE, it didn't take long for me to realize you cannot run this version 12 silently. They changed it from version 11. So at that point, I did a simple Google, and within 2 steps, I saw, oh, here's the MSI. So I downloaded the MSI from their site. Very simple. And now I'm actually going to delete some of these because these were created. But I looked through the MSI, saw some properties that I could change, but then I also found from Snagit that they actually have a deploy tool, not to actually deploy it, but to build the installation for deployment. And that is this TechSmith deployment tool that I downloaded. So I'm going to run this. Aha! This is how you build a silent install for some of the TechSmith products. Open the MSI package. Well, it was the MSI that I had downloaded. Open it up. And then similar to the Adobe Customization Toolkit, the Microsoft Customization Toolkit, here I could specify there's the software key.
Yep. Here's the parameters you need to do this install.
Yeah, and then you just go on down. I disabled automatic updates. It was fantastic. The cool thing about this, and that you will run into, is this creates what's known as a transforms file. So let's do this really quick. I'm not going to put a software key in here, mainly because I don't want you guys to have it. So this will run in the this will run in the disable automatic updates in an evaluation mode. And install features, let's turn these off. There we go. Disable TechSmith Fuse, very simple. And perfect. Now at the very end, install display. Yeah, we want this to be quiet. Uninstall, I'm going to say keep the files. Otherwise, when you try to do a silent install, it'll hang because it always wants to know if you want to delete or keep. And create transform file. I have to accept there we go. Now I'm going to create this. What is a transform file? A transform file is simply a custom modification to an MSI without having to change the MSI. I'm going to close this, go into 12.
Basically, it's the instructions that answer what the MSI is going to ask.
Perfect. And actually, because it ran it right there, there's my install Snagit. Let's see what we got. Boy, I think I just
Lost
sorry,
it.
guys. Yeah.
Lost the MST file. We do have another question, though. Should we?
I'm going to quickly come over here to... Yeah, go ahead. Ask the question while I pull this up to see where that's saved.
This one's from Jeff Thomas. How do you deploy a registry setting?
Oh, it saved it in my repository.
Oh, great. So registry settings, okay, things you can run on an install step. You can run.
Oh, awesome. How do you
reg
deploy?
files.
Okay, so when you say registry setting, Jeff, I'm going to assume that you mean one value. So there's a couple of ways you can do this.
He wants to do a registry hack. You hate that, I know.
Kill you.
But yeah, make it change the registry, right? So.
All right, so there's a couple of ways you can do it. Number one, you can deploy an actual reg file. I'm going to open up the registry here as an example. Let's just grab something. We'll go into software, and I'm going to create a new key. Test, and in here I'll create a new value. Hello, Lex. All right. You could, if you needed to deploy the same registry key and values, simply export this. I will save this to my desktop for right now.
Are you sure?
Okay. Lex, call this one Lex Reg, and it's going to create a .reg file. There's the .reg file right there. So I can create a new package. And in the install step, this is awesome. The install step doesn't just run EXEs and MSIs. It also runs bat files and PowerShell scripts
and script and reg
DB
files.
script. So I'm going to select this, go to my desktop, and scroll on down. There it is. Yeah, and you can see now we got Lex Reg. If you look at the command line that we're going to run, it is simply we run regedit/s, which means I want to silently import something. Deploy this out to your target computers, and guess what? You're going to have this this same key created, and
every machine that you deploy it to.
Every machine you deploy it to. But then, if you only want to do onesie twosie, a couple of values here and there, you can use a command step and just run the reg command, and that'll take care of that for you. In fact, I think we have. No, we don't want to save that. I believe, I'm going to come over here, expand that out a little bit, JJ. And I think it's in Adobe. Yep, here's an example. In the Adobe 11 package.
In a command step?
We have one command step. It just simply, this is wrapped. Make this, JJ's going to kill me for this, but no, let's do it within. There we go, this is wrapped. It's one command.
Per line.
Per line, yeah. So we just do a reg add, and we tell it the registry path, the value name, what type it is. It's a D word, reg D word, and then the value, which is 0. So the answer is twofold. You can deploy reg files, and then you can also just run a bunch of reg commands if you want. And as we stated, you can run multiple commands within one command step. I could do another reg add or reg delete, etc.
Once again, just make sure you do each of those commands on a separate line.
Correct.
I think that's about all the time we got today.
Oh.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, if you guys have any more questions, by all means, throw it down. And Sorry about the transform file. It's on there. I saved it to a different location.
Yeah, it happens.
If you want to see an example of a transform file, download our iTunes package
There you go.
from the package library, and you'll see that we had to make some customizations there, as well as also the Java 8 package. So,
Well, thanks for watching, guys. I'm Lex.
yeah, I'm Shane. Cheers.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us today at the webcast. If you have any additional questions, as always, go to adminarsenal.com, click support, and we will see you next Thursday. Cheers.